When the alert is broadcast, the alarm sounds, or the knock comes on your door, you'll need to be ready to act without thinking of what to do or what you need. You need a 5-day extreme emergency kit. With serious supplies and real food to secure 2 adults for 5 days, this powerful $300 extreme emergency kit is free with an order of at least $995 from eFoods Direct. Go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com/Alex. 800-409-5633.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
We're going to get Lyndon LaRouche's forecast on where he sees the global economy going, what he expects the globalists to pull, including staged terror attacks, the police state grid. Bretton Woods 2 convenes tomorrow. Actually, this evening kicks off with George Soros calling for an end to the dollar. What does he think's really going to happen on that front? Because this British model wants to start this new Bancorp global currency. That's all coming up. Before we go back to Lyndon LaRouche, remember, the corporate, mainstream, government-financed media has declared war on the alternative media and those of us shattering the balkanization of the left-right paradigm. We're not funded by George Soros or the federal government. We're funded by our sponsors and you that support us. The online video bookstore at Infowars.com. You can get the new book, Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare Come True, showing the police state at Infowars.com. When you get it with Jesse Ventura's new incredible book, 63 Documents the Government Doesn't Want You to Read, already climbing the New York Times bestseller list, though it just kicked off Monday here with Ventura, former governor on the show. When you get these 2 books already discounted, get one of my best-selling films, whatever you choose, free with the purchase of the 2 books, and your purchase supports this transmission. Also, it's 15 cents a day, $5.95 a month at prisonplanet.tv, the expanded archives, the live streaming video, all of my films, expanded extras, prisonplanet.tv, and we couldn't do it without you. Also, please support our local AM and FM affiliates, their local sponsors, or if you have a business, please support the show by sponsoring that local station. We're getting a lot of new stations, and it shows how great this awakening is that somebody like myself, 16 years in the wilderness, and sure, we've reached tens of millions over the years, now reaching 3 million a day on radio, 1 million a day, readers on the websites, that's individuals, and we're growing exponentially. That's why the White House regulations are, and others are saying, and Media Matters are saying they want to shut down the alternative media, quote, with guerrilla tactics, with those memos that Media Matters got leaked out via Politico 2 weeks ago. The fight is on. It's here. Everything you've seen up to this point is just birth pains. Now, racing through a host of questions here, Mr. LaRouche, what is the larger stratagem, the geopolitical Brzezinski-esque model from my research through the British divide and conquer system? What is going on in the Middle East? We've got intel that they're planning to overthrow the monarchs as well, though they are corrupt. What's part of that larger plan, or do you not agree? And what do we expect to see as the ace in the hole moves by these people as they attempt to maneuver us into this one-world government, the born-again, expanded British Empire model?
Well, what you're looking at is the famous mythical story about the case of Zeus and Prometheus, that the policy of the empire, the imperial system in the Mediterranean and spreading out from the Mediterranean was always based on this aspect of policy. That's how it generated it. The idea is to keep the majority of people stupid. Don't educate them, keep them as slaves, and don't let the people become too numerous. Now, as you know, the World Wildlife Fund, which is an extension of this, which is, of course, a British operation, says that we want to reduce the world's population from the order of 7 billions of people to less than 2. What we're seeing now is the implementation or attempted implementation of that policy to reduce the world population, including that proportionately of the United States, to that level, and to create such a state of chaos in the world that the empire can continue to rule over us. That's really what is in the mind. And when you look at the World Wildlife Fund and similar kinds of institutions, which are the British monarchy, then you see explicitly that is the bottom line intention.
And by the way, everything you say is so backed up with history. It was Prince Philip and his cousin, Prince Bernhard, who set it up. It's openly a eugenics arm. They conservatively want to get rid of 60. Others say 80%. And in all these UN biological diversity assessments and in the Henry Kissinger State Department Memorandum 200, they're criminal, Nazi-like, and we know the Nazis were just a spinoff of their eugenics ideas, started again in England with the Galtons. Again, it's all history. They are openly declaring war on civilization, war on humanity, war on true information. This is a scorched earth policy, and it's stated by them publicly. They are openly admitting their treason against humanity. What specifically, though, from your research, what's happening in North Africa and the Middle East?
What you're seeing there is a phenomenon which is actually quite a lawful phenomenon. It's called the mass strike, in which you have a spontaneous eruption among people. We've seen this particularly in the generation between, say, 25 and 45, where the usual concentration is now. It was that case in Egypt. It was that in Tunisia. It was that which is going on in Libya, or is being made a mess of now, but it's what's going on in Madison, Wisconsin. It's what's going on in other parts of the United States. You're getting a reflection of this, which we saw in one form in August of 2009. Now we're seeing the same thing extended as a more or less globally spreading mass strike movement. It's a spontaneous movement, not an organized one. There are organized elements, but it's spontaneous. As we see, for example, in the United States, look at teachers. Now, the characteristic of teachers is they believe in children. They believe in building the future for children. So you find the leadership of the opposition to the Republican Party, clowns, as well as the Democratic clowns. You see the opposition was being led by teachers together with some of their students from the high school age. And this is a spontaneous revolt against evil by people who do not fully understand what the problem is, but they know that they have to stand up and fight against it.
Mr. LaRouche, looking at this, though, the dominoes were set up because of dollar devaluation, food prices increasing in these third world countries where, on average, roughly half the population makes about $2 a day or less. Clearly, the ingredients were there through IMF and World Bank policy, so they knew what they were doing. But then they send in Western agitators to try to tip the dominoes themselves so they can control the outcome with Mubarak, with Gaddafi, with all of these people. I mean, clearly the people have a reason to be angry and to be standing up, but I see the establishment trying to basically herd these movements towards an outcome that they want, which is further destabilization of the Middle East. Do you not see that there from your research?
Not the same way. The point is, you had the case of the French Revolution. 1782, the French king made a mistake. And his mistake was oppressive for the people of France. When the French monarchy refused to admit that it was being manipulated by the British with a wrong policy, the French people became angrier and angrier and angrier. And they then exploded when Lafayette lost his nerve in declaring the action which he should have done. You had the unleashing of madness. The danger now is that if we do not create order in society by restoring justice, which is what the situation is always in these situations, if we do not act to restore justice, you'll get chaos. That's what we're headed toward.
But the social engineers, going back to the Rand Corporation 15 years ago, openly said that we were going to be an undemocratic society, that they were going to vertically integrate, that they were going to put federalized police, standardized training worldwide, threat fusion spying centers in place, that terror attacks would be used as the pretext to smokescreen this police state suppressive rollout. So they know their policies are going to generate this. Then they plan to use the rebellion as a pretext to then openly bring out their martial law grid. Your take on that?
We could beat them, but we have to be smart. We could beat them. Just the idea of fighting a war, of fighting any kind of a battle, can be a mistake. You've got to have a good strategy. And I think now what I read as the situation, we're on the verge of a crisis beyond belief. You have two crises together. On the one hand, you have this financial, monetary, economic crisis. On the other hand, you have a wave of crises in terms of what happened in Japan, what happened in South New Zealand, in Christchurch, what is going to happen on the coast of the Pacific of the United States, what is happening around the world. You're going to see a pattern of earthquakes over the coming 2 years or so, which beats anything in human experience today. Why I say that is, we're in a cycle, and the cycle is determined by our galaxy, not the solar system as such. We're in a 62 billion year cycle, which is well known to people who study these matters. This is a period in which the greatest rate of perturbation is likely. So we're on the verge of a crisis of humanity beyond belief unless we take the proper action. And this president is shutting down the means of detection by which we can be organized to defend ourselves against what's coming down with these earthquakes. And it is beyond belief. Level 9 earthquakes, they are predictable. But then you have the President of the United States says they are not predictable. That lying President of the United States should be out of there.
Mr. LaRouche, I want to expand on that because I did notice months ago you were writing about an increase in earthquakes and tectonic events even before what we saw unfold on the eastern coast of Japan. And I did notice 2 weeks before the March 11th event, even ABC News said, well, the giant moon, the moon closer than it had been in 20 years, doesn't just manipulate the tides of the oceans of the planet, but also the magma that these floating continents are on top of. And I am seeing a lot of mainline astrophysicists like Piers Corbyn, very highly respected out of England. He said, no doubt, that the solar cycle, that when that earthquake happened, that 9.1, they now upgraded it, that a solar flares, ionizing radiation hit the Earth 2 hours before, coinciding with the, quote, giant moon, the moon being closer than it had been in 20 years, and that's what triggered it. And I have read some of the astrophysicists with this larger galactic plane that we're passing through. That's a little too technical in my research, but undoubtedly the moon manipulates and the sun manipulates climate and tectonic and magnetic fields. And I know that Obama's canceled some satellites that can measure all over the world the rising and falling of tectonic events. So go through the technicals on that. Then I want to shift gears into, if we don't avert things, and some of your ideas for solutions, what the globalists are going to bring us through and what we're going to see in your forecast.
Well, I'll just take the back end of it first. What we're looking at is the threat. If we do not get rid of this president, I mean, that's crucial. Under this president, as long as he has the authority of president, he is going to prevent everything from happening that should happen. We must remove him from office. The 25th Amendment, Section 4, provides for his removal from office on the basis of his mental condition. And the mental condition is specifically that which is his. Now, if we get rid of him as president in that way, then we meet and get the Glass-Steagall through. We can begin to unleash the measures of protection which could avert this. Now, nobody can guarantee we're going to come out of this alive, not what's coming now. But we don't have a chance of living. This planet does not have a chance of living unless we get this president out of office very soon.
But, sir, I mean, the Republicans haven't called to bring back Glass-Steagall. The Republicans and Democrats are all financed by the same financial oligarchy. What do we get, Biden, Hillary? I mean, these people are just Obama's just a teleprompter reading minion.
Well, you've got to look at one other thing about our system, the background of how our system works. Our system of government has many different aspects. Now, while a man is president of the United States and still has respect, and while the majority of the Congress is in authority, we behave well and put up with a lot of things, a lot of terrible things and abuses. We sometimes go for several generations of suffering from those conditions because we know the importance of stability of government. Therefore, we will not recklessly disturb the system of government. But when the point comes, as of now, that the very existence of the United States in particular is jeopardized, and a threat to the world as well in terms of this wave of earthquakes, and this is oncoming,